You are on Crocodile's True Stories channel. Enjoy listening. The morning didn't start with fireworks or gut punches. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that feels dishonest. The blinds in our bedroom filtered in a soft, dusty light, and everything had that warm, half-awake glow. Brooke lay beside me, not quite asleep, not quite alert. I could hear her breathing, measured, almost staged. I was trying to sit up when my elbow knocked one of the throw pillows off the bed. It landed with a soft thud. I leaned over to grab it, and that's when I saw it. A ring. Not mine. Not anything I'd ever worn. It was thick, gold, and masculine, clearly made for a man. No engraving, just a solid weight of something that didn't belong. I held it between my fingers, the cold metal suddenly heavy. "Brooke," I said, voice still groggy but sharper than I meant. "Whose ring is this?" Her eyes opened slowly, like she hadn't been awake the whole time. But she didn't look surprised, not even curious. She looked at the ring like she already knew it was there. And then she blinked, once, before offering a soft sigh. "Oh," she said, like she'd just remembered a missed errand. "That's Lucas's. He must have dropped it last weekend. Remember? He came over for the game and fell asleep on the couch. I guess it rolled under the bed or something." I just stared at her. She didn't blink. She didn't flinch. Her tone was level, and her body language almost too relaxed, like she'd been preparing for this moment. There was no confusion in her voice, no hesitation. Just that same, calm delivery I'd heard the last few months whenever I asked why she was late or why she suddenly needed to go to the gym at 9 p.m. I sat back against the headboard and looked at the ring again. It had a faint smudge on the inside, like it had been worn often. It didn't feel like something someone would just accidentally lose on our bed, under our pillow, in our room. I placed it on the nightstand without another word. My mouth was dry, and my thoughts were moving too fast to grab onto any single one. She didn't say anything else. She turned her body toward the wall and pulled the blanket tighter. We didn't speak for a while, but I wasn't angry. Not yet. That would come later. What I felt in that moment was worse. That slow, dawning ache that something was off. Really off. That kind of wrong that no explanation can smooth over. Because it wasn't just the ring. It was the way she answered me. Like I was the one overreacting. Like I was supposed to nod, say, "Oh, right," and go make us coffee. Like finding another man's ring under our pillow was just some unfortunate coincidence and not a neon sign blinking over the entire relationship. I sat there in bed while she closed her eyes and pretended to drift back into sleep, and I replayed the last few months in my head. The late nights. The quick showers as soon as she got home. The new perfume. Spicy, unfamiliar. She used to smell like lavender and coconut. Now it was musk and amber, clinging to her clothes like fingerprints. She started going to a new gym a few months ago. One that was further away, more expensive, and required some sort of fob to get in. She'd never invite me to check it out. When I offered to pick her up once, she said it would mess with her rhythm. When I offered to work out with her, she laughed. The ring. That was just the first thing I could hold in my hand. But the signs? They'd been there, floating all around me like dust in the sunlight. And I hadn't seen them. Or maybe I had. I just didn't want to name them. I thought back to the night Lucas supposedly fell asleep on our couch. I remembered him coming over for the game. I remembered her sitting unusually close to him while I was in the kitchen making nachos. I remembered laughing with both of them. But I didn't remember him staying the night. I didn't remember anyone falling asleep on the couch. I should have said something. Pressed. Asked again. But instead, I just sat there and let the quiet take over. Maybe I was afraid of what she'd say if I pushed. Or worse, what she wouldn't say. I got out of bed not long after. The shower was hot, but it didn't do anything to clear my head. My reflection in the mirror looked tired. Not the kind of tired sleep could fix. The kind of tired that sinks into your bones when something you've built starts quietly falling apart and you can't stop it. When I walked back into the bedroom, the ring was gone. She'd put it somewhere. I didn't ask where. She acted like none of it happened. Like we'd had a normal morning. She was scrolling through her phone, half smiling at something I couldn't see. "You want coffee?" she asked, standing and walking toward the kitchen without waiting for an answer. "Yeah," I replied. My voice sounded foreign. Thin. I sat down on the edge of the bed, staring at the imprint she left on the sheets. Maybe I was imagining things. Maybe it was Lucas's ring, and maybe he had crashed for a bit, and maybe I had just missed it. But even if that was true, and God, I wanted it to be, the way she acted told me everything. She wasn't surprised. She wasn't embarrassed. She wasn't anything. She was prepared. And that's when I realized something I hadn't allowed myself to think before. This wasn't the first time I'd stumbled too close to something I wasn't supposed to find. It was just the first time I had proof. The drive that afternoon felt longer than it should have. We were headed to Brooke's uncle's house, some semi-formal family get-together by the lake. One of those catered outdoor events with finger food, playlist jazz, and too many people trying to act richer than they were. I didn't want to go. She knew that. But I didn't say anything. Not because I wanted to keep the peace, but because I wanted to watch. She was quiet at first. Then she started smiling at her phone. Not just the way someone smiles when a meme pops up. It was the kind of slow, cheek-turning smile people get when they're being seen, wanted, flirted with. She typed fast. Her thumbs barely paused. I glanced over once, not to snoop, just out of reflex, and she tilted the phone away, subtly, like it was instinct. I didn't say anything. That had become a pattern with us lately. Silence. Observation. Repeat. About halfway through the drive, she chuckled at something she read. Then, almost on cue, the smile dropped the second she glanced my way. Like a switch had flipped. It had been like this for months now. The emotional equivalent of walking next to someone who's already 15 feet ahead. She started wearing clothes I hadn't seen before. Tight, trendy things she never wore at home. Her makeup changed too, bolder. She'd come home from running errands, with lashes still perfect and lipstick barely smudged. No bags. Just a story about traffic or stopping by a friend's. She started working out more. At night. At a new gym I wasn't allowed to join because she said she needed her own space. Fair. I respected that. At first. But then the stories got thinner. One night, she said she ran into her trainer at Whole Foods and they decided to grab smoothies. On a weeknight, at 10 p.m. She came home smelling like cedarwood and cologne. I asked who the trainer was. She gave me a first name. Lucas. That name again. Said he was just a friend from her class, someone who helped her learn the machines. Don't be weird about it, she added, like I was the one painting shadows on a clean wall. But it wasn't clean. Not anymore. Her laugh changed too. That's the part that stuck with me the most. The way she laughed around me used to be effortless, full-bodied, eyes-closed kind of laughter. But lately, I only heard it when she was on the phone, alone in the bedroom, door almost, but not fully, closed. It was that soft giggle she used to save for me. And when I walked in, her face would tighten, like I had interrupted a good dream. She called it stress. Said I was being distant. Said I had changed. Maybe I had. Because deep down, I think I'd known for a while. Not the full picture. Just that we weren't us anymore. I used to find excuses for her. I'd blame work. Or hormones. Or the idea that maybe she was just in a funk, like we all get sometimes. I'd tell myself she was still showing up. Still coming home. Still wearing my hoodie on Sundays. But those were routines, not affection. Movement, not meaning. She hadn't touched me in weeks. And not just physically. Emotionally, too. She used to play with my hair when we sat on the couch. Used to ask me about my day, and actually wait for the answer. Now, it was always, one SEC, followed by her face lit up by that damned phone screen. I remember the last time we made love. And not because it was romantic. Because it felt like she was somewhere else the whole time. Eyes closed, barely present. No connection. Just a performance. That night, I stayed awake while she slept. Or pretended to. I watched her roll to the side of the bed, her back facing me. It hit me then. I didn't recognize the shape of us anymore. In the car now, she kept smiling at that phone. Who are you texting? I asked casually. Too casually. She didn't look up. Just Haley. About the catering. A lie. Haley wasn't even invited. She was out of town. I knew that because she posted a story that morning from Colorado. I'd seen it while scrolling, pretending not to care. Right, I said. Brooke didn't flinch. She didn't explain. She just adjusted the air vent, like the conversation had never happened. We drove in silence the rest of the way. The road twisted past trees that blurred together in that dull summer heat, the kind that makes everything feel heavier. My hands were tight on the wheel, and I could feel the blood pulsing in my neck. Not from anger, from knowing. And yet, I still didn't say it out loud. I didn't ask her who Lucas really was. I didn't ask why she started locking her phone. I didn't ask why she stopped saying, I love you, unless I said it first, and even then, it came out flat, like she was returning a missed call. We pulled into the gravel driveway of her uncle's lake house around 5. You could hear music already. Low, jazzy stuff, speakers wired through the trees. People milled about in semi-formal wear, holding plastic glasses of wine like props in a community play. Brooke barely waited for the car to come to a full stop before she grabbed her clutch and stepped out. She adjusted her dress, checked her reflection in the car window, and headed straight toward the crowd. I sat there a moment longer, the engine ticking, watching her disappear into the party like a drop of water in a lake. Gone. My phone buzzed in my cup holder. A text from my friend Oliver. Still coming to the game tomorrow? I didn't answer. I just sat in the driver's seat and stared at the glove compartment. My hands were shaking. Not from rage. From grief. From the quiet grief of realizing the person you love is already emotionally gone, and you're the only one who hasn't left the room yet. Eventually, IK** led the engine, pocketed my keys, and stepped out. I wasn't ready for what I'd seen next, but I was done pretending. I kept to the edge of the crowd that evening. The backyard of Brooke's uncle's lakeside home looked like something out of a lifestyle magazine. Soft amber string lights stretching from tree to tree, linen-draped cocktail tables, a live jazz trio playing near the boathouse. Everyone was dressed just formal enough to say, "I care," but casual enough to still sip out of solo cups. I didn't see Brooke right away, but I wasn't surprised. She had a way of disappearing in crowds, something she used to joke about, back when we were younger and always trying to find each other at parties. Like hide and seek for grown-ups, she'd say with a wink. Only this time, she wasn't hiding. I made my way over to the drink table, nodding to her uncle and a few relatives I barely knew. I poured myself something dark into a plastic cup, took a sip, and scanned the crowd. That's when I saw him. Tall, sharp suit. Too sharp for an outdoor gathering like this. He walked in through the side gate, alone, but moved like he already belonged. People didn't notice him, not yet, but Brooke did. I watched the moment her face lit up. It was unmistakable. Her eyes caught his like magnets finding their pair. She didn't hesitate. She walked straight over. My stomach tightened. She hugged him, not one of those casual sidearm things. This was full-bodied. Familiar. Mate. I didn't know the man. Never seen him before. But something in the way they moved told me this wasn't their first time doing this dance. And I don't mean the literal kind. They stood close, too close. She touched his arm when she laughed. He tucked a strand of her hair behind her ear. A few minutes later, as the jazz trio eased into a slow number, she pulled him. Yes, pulled him, toward the area people were using as a dance floor. And then, just like that, they were dancing. I couldn't move. I watched Brooke, the woman I married, the woman I thought I knew, swaying in the arms of a stranger like it was the most natural thing in the world. Her hand rested behind his neck. His was on her lower back. Not just hovering. Not polite. Firm. Their bodies pressed together like they'd done this before. This wasn't awkward. It wasn't shy. It wasn't a one-time mistake. This was something else. It was practiced. Rehearsed. Like they'd found their rhythm long ago. She leaned in to whisper something, and he laughed. Not the kind of laugh you give when someone says something funny. The kind you give when you're connected to someone. When you're inside the bubble no one else gets to share. I stood there for another few seconds, then turned and walked toward the table where she left her clutch. I felt like I was moving underwater. Everything was muffled. I could still hear the music, still hear people laughing and clinking glasses, but none of it felt real anymore. I picked up her clutch and opened it. My hands were steady, eerily so. Inside was her phone, lip gloss, tissues, and a small zipper pouch. I set everything aside until I found what I was looking for, my own wedding ring. I'd taken it off that morning. I didn't know why at the time. I told myself it was because I'd been washing my hands. But really, I think some part of me already knew what I'd find today. I held the ring in my palm, feeling the groove in the metal from years of wear. Tiny scratches, small imperfections, like a journal etched in gold. Then I turned and scanned the crowd until I found Haley, Brooke's younger sister. She was standing near the lake, talking to one of her cousins. I walked over, and when she saw me, her smile dropped. She must have seen it on my face. I didn't say anything. I just handed her the ring. She stared at it, then looked up at me. "Thomas," she whispered. "What is this?" "Give it to her," I said. "She'll know what it means." And then I walked away. Not toward Brooke. Not toward the dance floor. Not toward answers. I just left. There was no confrontation. No shouting. No scene. She didn't even notice I was gone. I walked through the crowd like I didn't exist. past strangers holding drinks, past laughter and jazz and all the polished little lies people dress up as happiness. I reached the front gate, pushed it open, and stepped out into the night air. The gravel crunched under my shoes. I could still hear the music, faintly, but it was getting smaller with every step. I got in the car, sat for a minute, stared at the wheel. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't even curse. I just sat there in that stale silence, and I realized the thing that broke me wasn't seeing her with another man. It was seeing how effortless it was for her, how she danced like I was already erased, like she'd already made peace with a new version of herself that I didn't get to know. The hardest part wasn't the betrayal. It was the ease of it. She didn't look back once. That was the part that kept playing in my head as I pulled away from the house and drove into the night. She didn't even look for me. I didn't go home that night. I couldn't. Not because I didn't have a place to return to, but because the idea of walking back into that apartment, our apartment, made my skin crawl. The silence there wouldn't be peaceful. It would be loud, mocking, a vacuum of everything we used to be. And the worst part? I knew she wouldn't be waiting. She wouldn't be pacing, worried, wondering where I was. She wouldn't be calling. She wouldn't be texting. Because in her mind, I'd already exited the story. And maybe I had. So instead, I drove. No destination. No GPS. Just let the roads take me wherever they wanted. I passed gas stations, dimly lit diners, 24-hour pharmacies, and flickering neon signs that blurred past my windows like ghosts. I think I was chasing quiet. Not the kind you find in a bedroom or on a yoga mat. The kind you earn when your head stops spinning and your heart finally accepts what your eyes already saw. But it hadn't accepted it. Not yet. I pulled into a rundown roadside motel just off Route 18. You know the type, strip of rooms, buzzing sign, vending machine with expired candy. The guy at the desk didn't even look up when I walked in. He handed me a key and a receipt like this happened every night. Maybe it did. Maybe I wasn't the first husband to show up with nothing but a wallet and a silent scream in his chest. Room 204 smelled like old carpet and desperation. I turned on the lamp by the bed, sat on the edge, and just stared. There's a moment in grief no one tells you about. It's not the moment you discover the betrayal. It's not even the moment you walk away. It's the next morning. When you wake up in a strange bed, in a strange room, and for half a second, before memory kicks in, you feel normal, whole, and then it crashes in, like a wave, cold, relentless. That happened to me around 7:12 a.m. I woke up, looked at the ceiling, and thought, why is there a water stain up there? And then, just like that, it hit me. The ring, the dance, the man I didn't know, the look on her face, and the part that shattered me, the fact that she hadn't called. Not even once. I checked my phone. Nothing. No missed calls. No texts. No where are you? No come home. Not even a we need to talk. Just silence. And that silence? It screamed louder than any confession ever could. I sat in bed for a long time, staring at the wall, phone in my lap, wondering what it all meant. Maybe she was giving me space. Maybe she was too ashamed. Or maybe, and this is the thought that finally broke me, maybe she wasn't thinking about me at all. She was probably still asleep. Or maybe up making coffee, laughing with Haley about what appetizers they liked. Maybe she was texting him, Lucas, asking if he got home safe. Maybe she was still wearing that same dress, still glowing from the night before. And me? I was a ghost. A placeholder. I left the motel without showering, got back in the car, and drove to the one place I knew I wouldn't have to explain anything, Oliver's. Oliver and I had been friends since college. The kind of friend who doesn't need the full story to hand you a key and say, take the guest room. And that's exactly what he did. I walked in. He took one look at me and didn't ask a single question. Just handed me a cup of coffee and said, you staying a while? I nodded. That was it. We didn't talk about Brooke. We didn't talk about the ring. We just sat on his porch and watched his neighbor mow the lawn in perfectly straight lines. I envied that kind of order. That night, I lay in Oliver's guest bed, clean sheets, soft pillow, total silence, and I realized something that hurt in a new kind of way. She was done. She had emotionally exited the relationship long before I caught up. The betrayal wasn't just in the act. It was in the apathy, the slow unraveling of interest, the shift from warmth to tolerance. She hadn't fought for us. Not when things got hard. Not when she started to drift. She just drifted. I checked my phone one more time before bed. Still nothing. The next day came and went. Then another. I stayed at Oliver's, kept my head down, ignored the group chats, skipped work. My boss left a voicemail checking in. I deleted it. I wasn't ready to explain. How do you even start that conversation? Hey, I found another man's ring under my pillow and watched my wife slow dance with someone like I was already a memory. Not exactly a Monday morning icebreaker. 3 days passed. On the fourth morning, I got a text. Brooke, we need to talk. Can you come home? That was it. No, I'm sorry. No, I miss you. No context. Just a request. I stared at the message for a long time. My thumb hovered over the keyboard. I almost replied. Almost asked her why she hadn't reached out sooner. Almost asked her what Lucas meant to her. Almost begged her to tell me I was wrong. That I misunderstood what I saw. But I didn't. I just stared at the screen until it went dark. When I finally drove back to the apartment, it didn't feel like returning. It felt like walking into a stranger's living room. Everything was still in its place. The plant by the window, the framed photos, the candle she liked with the fake French name. She was sitting on the couch, wearing my hoodie. Her legs were folded beneath her like she hadn't just shattered my life 3 nights ago. She looked up when I walked in, but she didn't smile. Didn't rush to hug me. Didn't even stand. Just said, hey, like I'd just come home from work. Like we were still something. I didn't sit down. I didn't drop my bag. I just stood by the door, waiting. She finally exhaled, rubbing her hands together like she was cold. I guess I owe you an explanation, she said. I didn't answer. I let her talk. I didn't mean for it to happen like that, she said. I didn't think you'd be there. I wasn't trying to hurt you. You just weren't trying not to. I replied, my voice flatter than I expected. She looked down. There was a pause. Then she said it. Lucas isn't a mistake, Thomas. And just like that, any sliver of denial still clinging to me vanished. He makes me feel, she started, then stopped. I don't know. Alive. I haven't felt like myself in a long time. My jaw tightened. I didn't want to hear her rationalize it. Not because I didn't think she had her reasons, but because it didn't matter. Not anymore. She made a choice. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a drunken lapse. This was consistent, conscious betrayal. And the truth was, she hadn't been mine for a while now. Maybe I had just finally caught up. I don't remember driving back to the apartment after that night at Oliver's. I mean, I know I did. I know I followed traffic lights, kept my eyes on the road, obeyed all the laws like some hollow shell of the person who once lived in that space. But it's a blur. The same kind of blur you get when something inside you breaks, and everything afterward turns grayscale. 3 days had passed since I left the lake house. 3 days of silence from Brooke. And then, like the flick of a switch, a single text message. We need to talk. Can you come home? Not I miss you. Not I'm sorry. Just logistics. Like I was a contractor she needed to meet with to sign off on demolition plans. I walked through our front door expecting maybe a hint of regret, maybe tears, maybe even rage. But what I found was Brooke, wearing my hoodie, arms crossed, leaning against the kitchen island like nothing had happened. Like we hadn't fallen off a cliff and hit every jagged stone on the way down. She didn't say hi, didn't even move. Just watched me enter with this unreadable expression. That silence between us was louder than any screaming match we could have had. It was full of ghosts, birthday dinners, anniversaries, grocery lists, dog-eared travel brochures we never used. A million tiny things that used to mean something, all crumbling to dust. I set my keys on the counter. The clink echoed. You said we needed to talk, I said. She exhaled slowly. Her voice didn't crack. It didn't even tremble. I think we both know what this is. Do we? I asked. Because I'm not sure I know anything anymore. Brooke looked away for a moment, like even she didn't believe the script she'd rehearsed in her head. I didn't cheat on you. Not in the way you think, she said. I stared at her. You think this is about definitions? She held her ground. I'm telling you the truth. I didn't sleep with Lucas. Not while we were, she trailed off. Not while we were what? She swallowed hard. Not while we were functioning. That word, functioning. It hung in the air like an insult disguised as honesty. As if our marriage was a car engine sputtering in winter, and she was justified in leaving it behind because it didn't start on the first try. So let me get this straight, I said. Because things weren't perfect, because we hit a rough patch. That somehow gave you the moral green light too. What? Start your trial run with someone else while I was still here, still trying? It's not like that, she said quickly. I didn't plan this. Lucas and I. I held up a hand. Stop. She closed her mouth, jaw tight. You don't have to explain Lucas to me, I said. You already did when you danced with him like I wasn't 10 feet away. I watched her blink, once, twice, but no tears came. She stepped around the island, closer now. Her arms weren't crossed anymore. She was trying to look open. It felt like performance art. I don't hate you, Thomas, she said. I need you to know that. I'm not in this anymore. And I haven't been, for a long time. And you never thought to say that? My voice cracked there, just slightly. You never thought to give me the dignity of knowing. I thought it would pass, she admitted. I thought maybe I was just going through something. That maybe I'd come back to you. But you didn't. She shook her head slowly. And when you realized you wouldn't, you just kept playing house with me, going through the motions while building a back door with someone else. She didn't answer that. She didn't have to. I walked into our bedroom, or what used to be our bedroom. It already felt like a museum exhibit. I grabbed the duffel bag from under the bed and started packing. Where are you going? She asked from the doorway. Not sure yet, I said. But I'm not staying here. You don't have to leave. I stopped and looked at her. Yes, I do. I can't sleep in a place where I'm just background noise. She flinched a little at that, but again, no tears. I packed only what I needed. A few days of clothes, toothbrush, laptop. I didn't take the framed photo of us in Barcelona, or the travel book with the bookmarks for Japan, or the guitar she bought me on our second anniversary that I hadn't touched in months. Those things didn't belong to this version of us. As I zipped the bag, she sat on the edge of the bed, our bed, watching me like I was a stranger breaking into her home. You really think I wanted this? She asked suddenly. You think I wanted to fall out of love with you? I turned toward her, meeting her eyes for the first time in what felt like years. No, I said. I think you let it happen. And that's worse. I walked past her. She didn't try to stop me. At the door, I paused. One more thing, I said without looking back. If he's really not a mistake, make sure you don't lie to him the way you lied to me. And then I left. That was the day everything we built collapsed. And not with a bang. Not with shouting or slammed doors. But with quiet acknowledgments and the dull ache of finality. There was no fight to win. No argument to lose. Just the slow, undeniable acceptance that it was over, and that she was never going to be the one to say it first. I stayed with Oliver again. He asked if I wanted to go out, grab drinks, distract myself. I told him no. I just wanted to sit, to be still. Over the next few days, I started untangling our lives. Credit cards, joint accounts, shared subscriptions, even the Spotify playlist we used to add to every weekend. It felt like peeling wallpaper, layer after layer of what once looked beautiful, now flaking away to reveal a blank wall beneath. Brooke didn't reach out. Not with updates. Not with apologies. I didn't expect her to. I returned to the apartment once to get the rest of my things. She wasn't there. Probably at work. Or at the gym. Or with Lucas. I packed quickly, methodically. I didn't take everything. Just what was mine before we became us. The rest, the wedding photos, the knickknacks we bought on trips, the gifts we gave each other, I left behind. Not out of bitterness, but because I didn't want reminders. When I was done, I left my key on the counter. A simple, quiet goodbye. No note. No dramatic farewell. Just a small symbol that I was finished. I stood in the doorway for a moment before leaving. Looked around one last time. The living room. The half-watered plant. The dent in the couch cushion where we used to sit shoulder to shoulder and laugh about nothing. That was the part that hit me hardest. Not what we lost, but how casually it all faded. Then I closed the door. And just like that, it W.